ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for the Midday Market Report with good friend and colleague, Mr. Tyler Wyatt, at Tyler Wyatt Bets, at Odds Culture. A quick abbreviated segment with Tyler as he's got to go off to his weekly Knoxville radio hit, so I'm going to bring him on right now. What's up, Tate?
What's happening, JD?
Another week in the books. We got you for about 10 minutes here, so what'd you see last weekend?
Yeah, we talked, I think, we touched on Friday about the Miami and Louisville game, the upset possibility. We were on the other side. Plus, I was not expecting a win. I thought Louisville could do enough to keep it close. I thought anything over 2 touchdowns was crazy. But Miami's still minus 270 at DraftKings to make the playoff. So still a pretty big favorite to finish the season. They, one more loss, I guess, would bring in an intriguing conversation with about 7 or 8 other teams. It seems like we're destined to 10-2 is going to be the talk of that, I guess, early December weekend. What teams get left out? Because I think there's going to be a log jam. There's going to be a bunch in the SEC, I have a feeling, at 10-2. But yeah, it's Miami was the easy one, the one that stood out to me, and it was pretty clear. Number 2 goes down. I mean, Louisville's a good team, but, this was a game that, Miami is supposed to win that one, given the location of the game. You're over a 2-touchdown favorite, all the momentum, playing really solid football. Talk of the darling of the ACC, I guess, alongside of Georgia Tech. I think, as far as just upsets of the weekend, that was, clearly the one that stood out for me. Alabama dominating Tennessee was a pretty – that was a play at the end of the first half. Alabama still could have easily won that game by 17 points. But Tennessee going in to score, and then the 99-yard interception return, 14-point swing plus Alabama against the ball to start the second half. It was, that was kind of nail in the coffin, you felt like. And then, outside of those couple of games, I don't know that I didn't really learn anything outside of what we already knew, which was this season is pretty full of parity. So, number 2 goes down, but they're still firmly in the playoffs. So it wasn't a season-ending loss by any means, but that was the one that stood out to me.
Well, and I did sniff out, I talked about distractions and stuff. I did sniff out Nebraska, Minnesota. We had them plus the 7.5. We also had them plus 270 on the money line. Again, a Nebraska team, third-year Matt Rule. This is their year, and then insert Franklin getting fired, Matt Rule to the front. And listen, if you want to make that move, God bless you. But again, distractions in Nebraska the last 2 decades don't usually end up well.
No, we talked about, we said row your boat. PJ Fleck, I didn't see that it was not a close game. It was an ugly game. It wasn't, I don't recall the score off the top of my head, 24, 25, whatever, 20-something to 6. But it was just not a competitive ball game, not a competitive effort at all by Nebraska. And I think we touched on it, that when coaches are being rumored mid-season, that games typically go one of 2 ways. It's either they show up and it's a defining victory and the coach is, I'm the head coach, or they just don't show up and they get blown out. That's what happened with Nebraska there. Upset for the sake of, you're a touchdown favorite on the road. You're ranked 24th or 5th, I guess, depending on the poll, but was not surprised at all that they lost that game. We touched on that one. Ohio State, maybe we learned just defensively, they are more impressive each and every week. And I think what they're doing offensively is improving every week, which is scary because they're already pretty efficient offensively. They're giving a little more of a range. They're loosening the leash on the offense to Julian Sayin. I mean, this is an offense that's now starting to click. It's a defense that's as good as anyone in the Big Ten and one of the, I think, more solid defensive fronts and secondaries in college football. You know, they're trying to distance themselves, I think, in who's going to beat us in that conversation. A&M, you know, the top five, and A&M, a top five team. They just kind of let teams hang around. It was an Arkansas offense that moved the ball at will. Defensively, Arkansas wasn't much, but you know, I didn't learn anything that we didn't already know about some of these teams. A&M, we knew pretty good offensively, but they need to show up defensively. Texas Tech quarterback, you know, the injuries there have kind of been a thing. Arizona State gets healthy at the quarterback position. Levitt, you know, comes back. I guess that's an upset because of it's number 7, but not a huge line. Like, you know, upsets in, I guess, the general non-gambling public, they say, oh, number 7 got beat. But as a gambler, it's a less than a touchdown line on the road. It's not a shock that they lost that game to me. Georgia Tech, that was an opportunity for, you know, for the ACC to lose out on a potential playoff team. Georgia Tech, even with a loss to Duke, would have still been a pretty sizable favorite to make it. That was a solid win. Duke's a good football team, playing really good football of late. Big win there. Texas screwed around there with Kentucky. It's a Texas team. Offensively, it's just been lost all season. Kentucky, not a good football team. Doesn't do really anything well. It's a Kentucky picture right here. I'm a Kentucky guy. I've seen all the plays. This is not a good football team. Tennessee going up to Lexington as a single-digit favorite, you know, to a bad football team. There's a lot, you know, just the gaps are narrowed between, you know, teams in the 10 to 40 range. It used to be the top 25 was kind of a step up from the rest of football. And then there was those teams, I guess, maybe top 30. Now, this season, 10 to 40 wide open. 40 can beat 10 any Saturday. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, MAC Tuesday, doesn't matter. You can get beat if you don't show up. Outside of right now, Ohio State, I don't see a team right now on a neutral field that's going to come in and beat Ohio State. If they play the way that they've played the last couple of weeks, they're going to win the national championship.
Well, hell with Coach of the Year. It should be the Coach of the Year this year is Matt Patricia, who's the DC for Ohio State, but we'll save that for another show. You got a couple minutes. Fire away on your picks. We know we can find it on your timeline at Tyler Wyatt Bets, at Odds Culture. Your openers versus the Circa to your numbers. What do you got this week?
Yeah, much better week last week, 24-18. So we were back to the winning ways. Started out the week. We posted our picks early in the week there on Sunday, and we had Western Kentucky lost last night. Ugly New Mexico State game. 7 turnovers between the two teams. 4 interceptions for New Mexico State. They still find a way to get to overtime and lose. But we have a Cal game on Friday. Cal 3-point opening underdog at Circa to Virginia Tech. Another team in the conversation of looking for coaches. That number goes up to 4.5. I'm a player at Cal at 4.5. I think 3 is a playable number. I have Cal at 1.3-point favorite. Wisconsin, a team that we just talked about getting stomped by Ohio State, is expected to go to Oregon and compete. Not going to happen. That number opened at Circa 31. We saw it go to 33.5. That was an added play. I think that number is playable to 34.5. I think this should be a blowout. But I'm a player in the total. It opened 43.5, and I just don't see a scenario where Oregon State doesn't score 43.5. So I'm going to take over in the game because I think one team's going to score that many. I'm also a player in Oregon's team total. I had a projected total near 50. Missouri, a team that we backed last week against Auburn, goes to Nashville. I am planning on being in Lexington for the Kentucky game, but if plans fall through there, may make my way to Nashville. It should be a really, really good football game. I have Missouri a small favorite, 0.2, open 3, bounced around 2.5, 2 back to 2.5 and 3. I think Missouri gets a win. Diego Pavia, 4th or 5th in a Heisman odds, depending on your book of choice. Really, really talented quarterback. Missouri defense has been good enough. Missouri rushing offense has been spectacular, one of the best in all of college football. Vanderbilt, I think, will have their hands full slowing Missouri's rushing attack, which should open up some things through the air. I think Missouri gets a tough but solid win there. It's a Texas team that goes to Mississippi State. Not a player in the number, but the total open 45.5. It stayed around 45 or 45.5. I have 53.8. It's a Mississippi State offense. It's been really, really good despite offensive line struggles. I do think that Texas gets back into an offensive. They struggled last week. I think Sark makes some changes, and we see some points in that one. Illinois, Washington, total open 57.5. I was a player at under. Our number was 50.4. It's 54, 54.5. Playable to 54. Anything short of 54, not a play for me. UCLA goes to Indiana. It's a UCLA team. It's now, I don't want to say they're the hottest team on the West Coast, but playing much better football of late. 3 winners in a row. They go to Indiana where they're a 3-touchdown opening underdog, goes to 25.5. I think that number, if you can get anything under 24, I'm a player on Indiana. 24.5, no play for me. Oklahoma, 4-point opening favorite at circa, goes to 5. I have Ole Miss a tiny favorite here, so easy decision to play. Plus the 4, plus the 5. Anything plus 3 or higher, easy decision for me to back Ole Miss. Really, really talented offense. Chambliss has been phenomenal. That defense has not been super great. Oklahoma's offense isn't really one that's going to scare you. Oklahoma defense, for real, probably the best overall defense in college football. But I think Ole Miss will be able to do enough to stay in that game. But I do think they get a win. South Florida and Memphis, one of the better games in terms of points and offense on the board. Total open 65.5, and I played over. It drops to 63. I'm also a buyer at 63. Our projected total is 77. Memphis, although favored in our metric, a 3-point opening dog at circa, goes to 5.5. I gladly took 5.5. I think Memphis gets it. Last week was a bad loss. Almost 24-point underdog-ish, roughly to UAB, a team that fired their coach. Memphis at home, I think, figures it out. Alex Golesh, a really talented guy, a guy that I got to know here when his time in Knoxville. Offensively brilliant. This should be a game where points are it's ding, ding, ding. You're going to hear the scoreboard light up. Old Dominion, 11-point opening favorite, goes to 14.5. I backed Appy State at 14.5. I think that number, anything over 13, is a playable number. Ohio, 9-point opening favorite. I had 14.8 in the game. We saw it go to 12.5. Anything short of 13, I think, on Ohio is playable versus Eastern Michigan. BYU, pick at Iowa State. BYU's continued to make a case. They're one of those teams right now that right now in the playoff. Now a 2.5-point underdog. Our number on that game is BYU -4. So a player for me at a pick and also catching 2.5. And then Washington State, a team that's just kind of been sneaky good, competitive. The wins haven't necessarily translated, but offensively they've been pretty good. Open as a 1-point favorite. Still stayed around 1. Total open 52.5 and saw it drop to 47. I'm a player in both the over at 47 and Washington State -1. Toledo offensively has been good for most of the season. So this should be a game where not a ton of defense, but I think Washington State at home gets a win for Toledo's second Power 4 game of the year. And then we go down to it's a Cincinnati team, opens a 4-point favorite at home against Baylor. Baylor's been up and down, more up of late. Total open 67.5. It's two teams that have scored. Baylor, not much defense. Cincinnati defense has been pretty good. Our number on the total is 61.3, so player under, but also Cincinnati and ours came out to 8.2-point favorite. So we're back in Cincinnati -4. And then a Michigan team that goes to Michigan State. Michigan State's just been lost. Michigan has kind of found some rhythm. Defensively, they've been great all season. Offensively, they've I think they've improved most week after week. Our number on that one was 17, so a player at 13. 14.5. If you can find 14, I think it's a play. 14.5, this would be a pass for me. And then Arizona State, a team that gets a win. They get their quarterback back, open as an 8-point favorite at home. Houston last week, our model had a play on, and we were on the right side. I think that's a touch too many points. Our number on that one was Arizona State 4. So happy to take Houston anywhere north of a touchdown. And then I could not play the Tennessee and Kentucky game. 50.5, the total open. So I go to 55. Our number has a total on that one of 35-22 projected final, which adds up to 57. But also has a 12.8 point spread. Saw that number down at 7.5 yesterday. I think Tennessee gets a rebound statement win. Kentucky just isn't going to be able to score enough points to stay in this. If they get behind by 17, it's just not a team that's built. But defensively, they've been okay. But I think Tennessee moves the ball and kind of gets a little bit of a payback to back-to-back road trips. I think they figured things out. Lexington has always been a place that's been tough of late. That game, the last 4 meetings, been decided by less than 6 points on average. But I think Tennessee gets a double-digit win. I think Kentucky takes a tough one to a hated rival. And then you have a big game next week in Knoxville with Tennessee and Oklahoma, where you have two teams that right now in the playoff, but a loser of this one would obviously face a little different battle to finish up the season.
Tyler, thank you. As always, go follow Tyler at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odd Culture. T, good luck this weekend, and we'll circle back next weekend. We can't wait to talk then.
See you, boys.
Go follow Tyler at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture. Couple quick commercials, and when we're back, Matt Grissom. Stay tuned. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. A lot going on in the SEC, and Matt knows where I'm going with this. I sent something out to him and Nick, I think it was last Thursday or Friday when the talks were coming. And I want Matt's initial thought. Hey, I'm a San Francisco Giants fan, and I'm excited. I'm stoked. I can't wait to see what he brings. But I really want to know, these kids in Tennessee, they're already there. They're doing their fall ball. They're getting ready for the spring, and just what the dynamics will be in the SEC. So let's bring him in, Mr. Matt Grissom. What's up, Matty?
How's it going?
Listen, I know we're here. We're going to talk some football, SEC football, Westgate Superbook card. But listen, breaking news, obviously, head coach Tennessee. It was rumored all weekend. They showed him at a scrimmage or whatever, kind of in tears, waving to the crowd, saying, I got a meeting. And now the head coach of the San Francisco Giants. Initial thoughts, first of all, glad, not glad, and second of all, what this does to Tennessee moving forward this year in baseball.
Yeah, it sounds like Frank Anderson's going to be the interim head coach, which Frank's been around the game for a long time, really good pitching coach. Really why Tennessee, I feel like, succeeded with their dominating pitching staffs during Vitello's tenure. But yeah, it's pretty shocking. I found it hard to believe that now I feel like everybody's reported it, that he's the first college baseball head coach to go to the MLB without any prior MLB experience to manage a club. going to join Drew Gilbert out there, former Vol, and I think Maui Ohana is or Ohuna is up in that organization too. So it should be fun. It's definitely a different type of coaching managerial style than you feel like you're used to seeing in the MLB. Tony is very much a rah-rah, in your face players coach, really fiery personality. So that's going to be fun to see if it translates. I don't think he will change, but yeah, I think MLB got an interesting one, but a very good coach.
With the NIL, with the transfer portal, you talk to a lot of the GOATs, the Nick Sabans. You talk to the college basketball coaches, where it used to be regular season, then you go out and recruit. Well, a lot of them are getting salty because what good is it for me to spend a year with getting Matt Grissom to come to me and play for a year, and then he asks for more money and I don't have it, and then he can just go to the transfer portal and get more money, and I just wasted a year of my time for 1 year of Matt Grissom's services. Baseball, I'm not as educated of what goes on behind the scenes in recruiting these guys. I know Tennessee, listen, if I lived in the area and I was a 5-star recruit, that's one of the first places that I would go and want to put the orange and white on. But my question to you, how does this affect the team that is already there? There had to be some guys that came just for Tony. No disrespect to the interim or new head coach, but what is the temperature down there right now? And we'll have Nick on tomorrow, so I can't wait to hear this. But what is the actual temperature in Volunteer country?
Complete turmoil. I'm in a group chat with several Tennessee fans, and they're kind of losing their marbles over it. It's very odd timing. I get it's never the right time to lose a head coach, especially one that's won you a national championship and kept you relevant here over the years. So it's disappointing. You're starting fall camp right now or just wrapping up with it. You're kind of getting ready for that spring. All right, here's where my pieces are going to be. And then all of a sudden you lose your head coach. It's got to be stressful, nerve-wracking. As good of a coach as Frank Anderson is, I think the fact of a college baseball coach, I feel like, is so much more hands-on with the day-to-day. I mean, at the end of the day, you're coaching kids, whereas now he goes up to the MLB and he's more of just a game manager. What does that look like? And that's why I think it's an interesting decision, because I think Tony is a very much hype you up, find what makes you tick, and then hit that. Are these MLB players really? I hope they do, because the MLB's kind of lost its luster here, because it just feels like it's whoever can spend the most money and roll your guys out there and hope you win, like the Dodgers. And some could argue college baseball is becoming that too, but I'm wondering how that is going to translate. Is Tony going to be able to coach like he did at Tennessee in San Francisco? My personal opinion, I think this is a 2 or 3 year stint. He has fun, kind of like Saban did for the Miami Dolphins. All right, peace out. And then he takes over the Arkansas job when Dave retires.
And listen, I coached T-ball all the way up through Legion, little D3 there. I eat, sleep, drink baseball. I love coaching. I was that fiery guy. I was the one where you're down 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th, or back then bottom of the 7th, and I would be pulling the team together, and next thing you know, we have a 5-run rally and walk off and win the game. That was me. And you look at some of those fiery coaches that have gone from the college ranks to the NFL, to the NBA. You know this one. I shunned when Billy Donovan left Florida. I'm like, Billy, don't do it. Don't do it. And I've been begging for him to come back. And Pete Carroll, USC, NFL. And there's a million of those stories out there. And I think Tony's one of these guys that he knows like you just said, and I think you nailed it. Hey, I always wanted to coach in the majors. This is a perfect opportunity. He's taken a pay cut, but he knows 1, 2, 3 years down the line where either he gets fired, if he wins a championship, he gets a statue and the legacy is built, but he knows there's always going to be a job back in the college ranks if he ever wants to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've said it for years now. I had been told on good authority that it was Tony's job to turn down. He always was going to come back to coach at Arkansas. That was the master plan when he took over Tennessee. I don't think that people planned on him turning Tennessee into such a juggernaut so quickly, but I think that became even more evident that he was the man for the job. And whenever Dave steps down as head coach, Arkansas is going to go pull out the checkbook and bring him home. I mean, I've stood by that. I've argued with Vols fans. I'm like, yeah, Tennessee's great, but it's not Baum-Walker. It's not Northwest Arkansas. He already talks about how much he loves Dave Van Horn, and his dad's his mentor, but Dave is a close second. And I feel like the writing was on the wall. He's gonna do something, and this makes it a lot easier to transition from, all right, maybe I got fired by the Giants, now I can come back and coach Arkansas, rather than leaving, making everybody scratch their heads. Why would I leave Tennessee where I've won 1 or 2 national championships and then gone to Arkansas? That looks a little fishy. This one keeps up with the storyline. Plus, man, he's a single guy. Now you get to go out and live in the Bay. I mean, do that for a couple years. He's still, like 38, 39 years old, young guy. So he's got his whole life ahead of him to come back and retire and coach college baseball in Arkansas.
Well, I'll tell Tony this. Barry Bonds ain't walking through that door. Madison Baumgartner is not walking through that door. Tim Lincecum is not walking through that door. Going to be rooting for him, so I can't wait. SEC, listen, we're past the halfway point. We got some headliners here. Obviously, Ole Miss, after a loss, heads to Oklahoma. Both teams with one loss. Someone's going to end up with their second loss there. But if I said to you, the cream is starting to rise to the top. You know my love affair with Simpson and Alabama. Statement game by Georgia. What are you seeing now in the landscape of the SEC, Matt, as we get ready for another week?
So here's the thing. Tennessee is still, to me, very good, especially offensively. Now, they've stubbed their toe, but their losses are Georgia, Alabama, and Georgia. You saw that game; they led pretty much the entire game, and then Georgia. Here comes Kirby Smart, the boa constrictor. He's slowly wrapping you around all game long just to snap your head off, and he did it to Lane Kiffin. Actually, Model last week went 36, 22, and 1. Really good. The push was Lane Kiffin, the +8. He had that game in the bag, but big game Lane couldn't get it done. So I think Tennessee's still very good, even though they lost to Alabama. In the scoreboard didn't really dictate how close that game was. You take away the pick 6 there to end the half, which was just an atrocious play call. They knew what you were going to have to do. In Alabama, hats off, 99-yard interception return. And then I saw Dave Portnoy was arguing that Tennessee looked like they'd scored late, which I would have loved that because it would have been a backdoor cover to the +10.5 that I had. Wouldn't have mattered in the contest, but those two were the losers in my contest. Went 5-2. Get that recap out of the way. Vanderbilt, I think, is legit. Their offense is really good. Texas, we can throw them out. I think what we saw against Kentucky, that's not a fluke. I heard Tyler say that he was going to back Texas and thought that their offense would turn it on. This is what the offense is. I mean, they struggle. They're going to rely on the defense. I don't know what Arch Manning's deal is, but if he can't do it against Kentucky, one of the bottom feeders in the SEC in pass defense, I don't know if he can do it against anybody else that he plays. Which, spoiler alert, I'm taking Mississippi State plus the 7 in the contest against Texas Tech or against Texas. The Cowbells are going to be rocking, and I think Texas is just not a good team. So right now, the 3 teams I think could win the SEC: Tennessee, Alabama, and Vanderbilt.
Well, we could see a shift. Again, we've been waiting for A&M to stumble.
And I was about to say, before people start coming at my heads, what about the undefeated Texas A&M?
It's a night game. It's not a noon game. It's not a 3:30 game. We know what happens at Baton Rouge at 7:30 kickoffs. Brian Kelly already got 2 losses. Their season on the line. Their season on the line here. And my thought is, I'm kind of surprised at the bookmakers here on this game because they're still sticking with A&M 2.5-point favorites. And I'm starting to wonder, is this a walk-off A&M? Nussmeier struggles. Yeah, they play a good first half, and then here comes A&M. Am I drinking the purple Kool-Aid here? To me, this is LSU or nothing there, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's LSU plus 2.5 or nothing. Model makes it LSU 0.004. So if this is a coin flip game, and again, Texas A&M, 42 points to Arkansas. 2 fumbles by Arkansas. Probably could have lost that game. I mean, honestly. And I know Arkansas was one of my best bets last week, and they're playing so much better with Bobby Petrino. You lose Tennessee and Texas A&M by a field goal. I'm just not buying this A&M team. I think they have benefited from a weak schedule so far. Who have they played? I'm looking at who they've got left. At LSU this weekend, obviously at Missouri. I think that's a losable game. South Carolina, they should beat. Samford, give me a break. And then at Texas, maybe they can win that one. But the defense is just not up to par where I feel like most Mike Elko teams are. But that quarterback, man, who's Marcel Reed, he is phenomenal. But Texas A&M's defense, I feel like is going to expose some problems later on. But boy, looking at their schedule, the SEC, Greg Sankey really did A&M a lot of favors with this schedule.
And I'm going to backtrack there. You talked about Vandy. Tyler talked about Vandy, and I smell rat in this game. And, I just read the market. I just read the numbers. Here was a Vanderbilt team, 2.5-point favorites over LSU. We snuck in LSU team total first half over 10.5. Got the field goal late for that one to cash there. Yet here comes the Missouri team. Both teams, 1 loss. But my question to you, Vandy's only 2.5. It smells to me the same number it was last week against LSU.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I was on Missouri last week was I just don't believe in this Auburn team, and they hung with them. Missouri's bugaboo has been their strength schedule. It's been terrible, but they hung with Alabama and they beat Auburn, but I think Missouri is just kind of mediocre. Vanderbilt's good. I mean, they're one of the top offenses in the country in efficiency. They're top offense in the country in sustaining drives, meaning what do you do on first and second to set yourself up to have a third and manageable? They're really good, and Diego Pavia is a huge reason for that. So I think this is just a mismatch on paper. I think Vanderbilt's going to be able to do whatever they want to do on offense, and Missouri's run game is okay. I think it's Vandy or nothing.
Before we get to your Arkansas report, which you already hit on, and your Westgate Supercard this week, I talked about it a little. Big game lane, now travel to Oklahoma. Mateer back, get some sea legs back. We know the Oklahoma defense. I want to say it's the best in the country. Well, I think, unfortunately, Ohio State's is right now, but Oklahoma right behind them. Did Lane leave it all on the field last week? Tough bounce back spot, or do you think they can bounce back in Normandy?
Yeah, I don't know what John Mateer shows up, and can the quarterback Chambliss for Ole Miss, who's played really, really well, can he put up points against this Oklahoma team? I don't know. I want nothing to do with this. I thought the line was fishy at 5.5. I think it's 5 in the contest. I don't think Ole Miss wins, but I think they cover. I think this is a close game.
You talked about how the Bobby Petrino was kind of woken the troops up. 2 hard-fought wins. At least you're getting an effort now. Thoughts on Bobby? Thoughts on Arkansas and the rest of the season, Matt?
Yeah, I think if that magic number now to get the job, I feel like is 2, maybe 3, but I think that's doable. I talked about Auburn not being a believer in them. Talked about Missouri. I think that's a winnable game. Arkansas gets them to close out the season at home in that rivalry. And then you go on the road at LSU, at Texas. I don't think anybody, as bad as LSU and Texas have been this year, I don't think anybody expected us to win those games going in. I sure didn't when I bet them over 5 wins. But that 5-win mark looks like, hopefully it's a push, but Missouri, Mississippi State, Auburn, I think are all winnable games. That puts you at 5 and 7. If you can somehow win one on the road, I think Bobby definitely locks it up. But as long as this team stays together, and Bobby has been good about updating the media on that, there's been nobody want to sit out to transfer. There's been nobody quit the team, which is rare. I feel like in these days where you can take the red shirt and if you haven't played in whatever it is, 4 games, you can sit out and transfer. I know the UNLV quarterback did it a year or 2 ago, but this stretch of games, it was a gauntlet. I mean, yeah, you could say you shouldn't have lost to Memphis. I think everybody can agree with that. But at Ole Miss, Notre Dame, at Tennessee, and then number 4 Texas A&M comes to town. You're playing a lot better. You throw out the Notre Dame game, they've lost by a combined 13 points. Lost 4 games by 13 points. So I think that the offense is still rating one of the best in the country. They can run the ball very efficiently. They sustain drives because of Taylor Green and what he can do on the ground with his legs. I think Auburn, Mississippi State, Missouri are all winnable games. And shocker, I took Arkansas -1 in the Westgate Super Contest.
Well, speaking of that, let's go right to it. Hats off, nice bounce back week, 5 and 2. What's your Westgate Super Card look like this week?
So far, I've just taken Arkansas, Mississippi State +7, Tennessee -9, and I took UCLA +25.5. Our number was 21. I think Indiana they're the second best power rated team in the country. They do everything well. I think this UCLA team is completely different. I think they're, if you throw out what the season looked like early on, and Kurt Cignetti said it best. He said, we're playing a 3-0 team. This is not UCLA in week 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a rejuvenated UCLA team. And I think with Nico Iamaleava, he was really good last year. And so I think all the tools were there for this team to have success. It was a matter of putting them together and finding out what clicked. And they're clicking, man. I don't know if UCLA can win again, but I think they play Indiana within this number.
Well, we can't wait as always. Matt, everyone knows where to follow you. I know where to follow you. At Grissom on X, of course, the NCAA Insiders as we get closer. And by the way, just thought I'd bring this up to you. 9 days till NCAA hoops, November 1st. So next Thursday, as we get closer to the 1st, we'll get the Arkansas Razorback hoops. and Coach Cal report from you there, your Westgate Superbook card, your Arkansas recap, and of course the SEC. But as we always wrap it up, tell them where they can find all your work, Matt.
Well, before we do, I want to say your UConn Huskies, that was the best bet on the board for me last week. And then another team that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Georgia Tech. All right. I feel like everybody and their mother, from sharps to squares on TikTok, were on Duke. They loved Duke. This number before kick got up to 3.5. And I tweeted out, I thought, all right, the model like Georgia Tech, I think it was like -2 or 3. But I didn't bet it until right before kick. And when I saw the 3, it was a 3.5. And I mean, how wrong was everybody on that? I'm not trying to toot my own horn because it's college football and it's all random anyways. But I said, Georgia Tech, you're giving me 3.5 against a Duke team that is kind of up and down. Let's see. But we had the conversation. Could Georgia Tech run the table in this?
Well, they were my preseason darling in the ACC. Now, I'm going to come full closure here. I was on the road at 4 a.m. to work the BC noon kickoff, BC UConn. I sent out my afternoon alert Friday night. This is before Miami lost to Louisville. Okay? I gave out Duke -140. Okay, and I had their team total over. Now there is no service at 10:30 on at internet service at BC. It's the worst. It's as bad as stores. But here's my point: is by kickoff, that steam on the Duke money line got to almost -200. Okay, so the winner of that was going to propel themselves due to the Miami loss. So what happens to this Duke team? First and goal from the 1, fumble, 99, almost like Alabama, Tennessee, 99 yards the other way. 14-point swing there.
Yep.
Later in the third quarter, first and goal from the 1, and they end up with a field goal. So again, no disrespect to Mr. King, no disrespect to Georgia Tech. I love them. They played BC the last home game of the year. I can't wait for that ass whooping. But no, congrats. Great job to you, Georgia Tech, in the bottom.
Well, we started that conversation because you asked me how good this team was, and I hadn't really taken them into consideration as a legitimate threat to win the ACC. But at this point now, with Louisville beating Miami, which that was a great, easy rocking chair cover, laying the 14 or taking the 14. But they've got Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, as you mentioned, Pitt, and then they close out the season with Georgia, but obviously not in conference play. It may be beneficial to Miami now for Georgia Tech or Virginia or SMU to go ahead and just run this table and find their way to the ACC championship game and Miami not be there. Because at this point, ACC may be looking like a 1, maybe 2 team bid for the college football playoff.
Well, I mean, you just gave me the Georgia Tech schedule. I mean, where's the SMU game? Is that at SMU?
They don't play SMU.
Oh, they don't play. Okay.
What was their schedule? NC State, Boston College, and Pitt. They get Pitt and Syracuse at home. NC State, Boston College on the road.
So they're not losing any of those games.
I don't know. The only one, I mean, maybe at NC State could get hairy, but yeah, I think Georgia Tech is live here. And then with SMU coming on, Virginia looks as solid as you can be, sitting at 6-1 overall, 3-0 in conference. I don't know if Miami gets to the conference championship game.
Well, I think Tyler said, or someone said that, maybe it was Scotty Webb, that I think Miami is still -270 to make the playoff there. But there's a lot of teams there, the Louisvilles, the Virginias, the SMUs, the Georgia Techs. I think Georgia Tech sheets. They'll probably obviously lose on Thanksgiving weekend to Georgia in rivalry weekend there. But one loss, they'll potentially get to the ACC championship.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what that line is for the Miami SMU game. That game is in Dallas. So if SMU could steal that one, I think the only way Miami gets it is go 10-2 and hope that there's complete chaos and, you get maybe a Virginia team that's 9-3 or 10-2 loses to Georgia Tech, who goes undefeated, and your two teams that are in are 10-2 Miami and 11-1 Georgia Tech.
And that would come down to almost last year's scenario, right? Where again, SMU, if I remember correctly, sneaks in. So now the ACC would say, we want Miami, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's only one loss is to Georgia, which is meaningless at that point. It's not a non-conference game. Miami wins. Georgia Tech then we'll have 2 losses in a row, and you watch the naysayers. There's no way an ACC team that's lost 2 in a row should get into the Final 12, Matt.
Yeah. It's going to be complete chaos. We've had so much parity in college football this year. I love it. I don't really know who's good outside of maybe Ohio State and Indiana.
Well, we're going to find out. As always, go follow Matt at Grissom on X, at NCAA Insiders. You can follow myself at EC Sports Invest. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Scott Webb will be back for In Pocket Plays. 10:30, I'll be a guest with Andrew McGinnis at McGinnis Picks at Wager Talk. And at 11 o'clock, Nick Hatcoat. Can't wait to talk to him about Tony and his Balls baseball. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Grissom at Grissom on X. Wish everyone a blessed day and evening. Behave yourselves and stay tuned.